We are creeping closer and closer to the postseason. And guys, this is our final Monday Night Football regular season game, and it all goes down between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns from Pittsburgh. It's an AFC North showdown at Heinz Field, and it should be a special one for that home crowd tonight because this is likely the last time they're going to see Big Ben in uniform under center there in Pittsburgh. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Monday Tailgate, ignited by Smirnoff. My name is Shae Cornette. That is Jason Fitz. That is Skubie Mageza. Happy to be here with you guys today. Okay, let's start off with the game we're about to see. I just mentioned it. Big Ben, probably last time he's going to be under center in a Steelers uniform. And this is a big deal if you're going to Heinz Field tonight.
Yeah, I think this is about not just this season, but about legacy, right? And about what a quarterback means. And Skubie, we've talked so much this year about Aaron Rodgers and situations around that. Last year we were dealing with, Drew Brees in the end of his time with New Orleans. There's an era of quarterbacking that's just coming to a close for so many, and for the Steelers, they're now in the unenviable position of trying to figure out what's next. So in the meantime, you better appreciate what you have right now, is just tip your hat to a legend that, in the rarity of modern sports, looks like he's going to play his entire career for one team.
And that was exactly going to be my point. You don't see somebody have as long of a tenure at one organization their entire career, and a guy who has had success there, who has helped build that culture in Pittsburgh. So you want to see him walk away at least in the playoffs.
And I feel like his legacy kind of goes hand in hand with Mike Tomlin. Obviously, the two of them never had a losing record together. We know how this goes. Also, for the Steelers tonight, they are still playing for something. They still have a window, albeit small, to get into the postseason. Cleveland Browns, not so much. Probably the most disappointing team in the NFL, but that's a story for another day. So the Steelers will have to win their next two games. That includes tonight. Plus, the Colts have to lose, and then there needs to be a winner or loser, meaning no tie, between the Raiders and the Chargers this upcoming weekend. So I'm saying there's a chance, people, but still, that's got to be in the back of some of these players' heads, right, as they get ready for tonight.
I mean, all you can hope for at this point is the chance. And no matter how you got to where you are in the season, to go into the last two games knowing that you still have a chance gives you something to fight for. And realistically, what would Cleveland give right now to have a chance at the playoffs?
Yeah.
They don't. You're right. Disappointing. And if you're the Steelers, it might be the thinnest chance ever. But you're going to go out there and fight because it is the end of Big Ben, and because it is Heinz Field, and because there is still something there for you to fight for.
Yeah, if you tell me that there's a chance, that's all I need to hear. I don't need to listen to your FBI. I don't need to hear all your analytics. If there's a chance, then we got a chance.
And so then probably playing some inspired football tonight with the Big Ben news, and then again, the playoff scenario that's in front of them. Okay, but that brings us to what we saw this weekend, right? Because there was a lot of football that was played over the last couple of days, really, if you include Thursday Night Football. And so we want to get into our biggest takeaways, right, from this weekend. And so I'll start with you, Mr. Fitz. Perhaps yours, it's a little close to home.
Oh, my biggest takeaway of the weekend? I think we all know what my biggest takeaway of the weekend is. I want everybody, as we start my biggest takeaway of the weekend, I want everybody to remember something that happened with you last week when I wasn't on the show. Because Mike Golick Jr. had something to say last week about my beloved Raiders. I think it went something like this. Oh, they're getting it. Oh.
Jason, look away. Look away. And that's not just me talking about what I'm going to predict here.
Yeah, he said look away when it came to my beloved Raiders because the Raiders were playing the Colts. I didn't have a great feeling about it. I'm not going to lie. I said things that people shouldn't say. Grown men should not use the language I used on Sunday. But let me tell you something. We're going into the last week of the season. My beloved Raiders have a shot at the playoffs. Win, and they're in. Heck, you know what, Jacksonville? I'll give you $100 cold American cash to go out there and beat the Colts. Like one, $100,
Yeah,
not all of it.
who are you paying $100 at a match?
I don't know. That's big money for me. That's the most I could offer. If the Colts lose, I'm in. Either way, I cannot believe, with the year that it has been for me as a fan, to say I'm going into Week 18. The Raiders are at home against the Chargers with the chance to make the playoffs. Skubie, I said to you before, if the Raiders actually win on a run and beat the Colts and beat teams like the Chargers, they belong to the playoffs. They are proving it, my friend. I am going to be saucy this week.
I was going to say, we were in Miami this weekend, and I looked at Fitz, and I said, are you going to watch that game? Are you going to watch the Colts? He was like, oh, no, we're not going to win that game. So don't act like he had faith or nothing, because because he never had faith in his team winning it.
This is coming from a Patriots fan. I've seen one. This would be the Raiders' first playoff game since 2016. I have not seen a playoff win since 2002. Skubie, you were like in diapers the last time the Raiders won. Don't talk to me about faith.
The Patriots fan has no room to talk about people being excited for the postseason. I'm sorry.
I love the profile pick.
Profile pick is new for me. It's going to sit out there for a little while. I can't promise you by the end of the week I'm not going to be coming in basically in spandex with my entire body painted. Let's go.
Okay,
I'm in for this.
Skubie, your biggest takeaway from the weekend? I know there was a lot to kind of take in, but I think that's kind of your theme, yeah?
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of records broken this week, y'all. And it was actually phenomenal to see because this year we saw them add that extra week towards the NFL season, right? And one of the things that we thought of was a lot of these records are going to be up in jeopardy because they got that extra week. But these records were still broken in just 16 games. We saw Cooper Kupp set the Rams receiving yards record. Jamar Chase become the first rookie all time with multiple 200-yard receiving games. Jonathan Taylor, man, 2,000 scrimmage yards. He breaks the Colts rushing record. And then we got Robert Quinn. This is for you, Shae.
Thank you.
He broke that sack record for the Bears. And this has been kept since 1982. And there's a handful of other records that were broken this week as you look on the screen. I mean, it's just great to see these players still perform at this high level with COVID and with everything that has gone on this year, that they're still able to put up these crazy numbers. So I thought it was a great week for that.
I got to tell you, I didn't know all those records were broken. I knew about the sack record by Robert Quinn just because Chicago defense, all those things, me being a Chicagoan. But outside of that, and then Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, I didn't know all that. So thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, quick message to everybody. Don't be that but guy. Like, let's just appreciate records for once. Like the Michael Jordan versus LeBron debate is the equivalent of my dad can beat up your dad for adults. Like, just stop it. It doesn't matter how many games. It doesn't matter what Derrick Henry did versus what Jonathan Taylor's doing. It doesn't matter which. Neither has to be better. Just appreciate greatness in the moment without trying to qualify it and figure out a reason why your team's better than that.
Hey, I'm with you. However, my husband that I live with and I do radio with on Sundays has to constantly.
It's good that you live with your husband.
I do. Has to constantly tell me how great his Bengals are and how everyone else's team is terrible, like my Bears. And so yesterday was a big day for him. You mentioned the records that were broken by Joe Burrow and by Jamar Chase, and this team in the Bengals is doing the absolute most at the right time, taking care of the Chiefs. I know as a Raiders fan, this obviously made you probably happy seeing the Chiefs get knocked off, especially in the month of January. Something that, legit never happens. When this was on the schedule, I thought, so the Bengals could definitely beat the Chiefs because they can run it, they can throw it, their defense can get after the quarterback, they can keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, they have big play mentality, all these things. But really, do the Chiefs lose at this time of the year? They usually don't, but then they actually did. Who day is what they're saying in Cincinnati. And I mentioned doing radio with my husband, who is a Cincinnatian. And, well, let's just say this is what was going on the entire day on Sunday. Take a listen.
Now the Bengals have lined up for a field goal, and it looks like it's good. And so the Bengals beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And
AFC North champs, your Cincinnati Bengals. Told you they'd be the surprise team in the NFL this year, Shae. What'd I tell you?
What did he tell you, Shae?
What did he tell you?
Just get ready for this, though. I'll say this. I'm not trying to be a hot take artist. The Bengals are built to be good for the next decade. When you've got the prominent players that they have that are young with the production that they just threw up on the screen, the Bengals are not just good this year. The Bengals are going to be an AFC favorite for the next 10 years.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And speaking of those young player performances, Jamar Chase, so incredible, but also incredible if you had him on your fantasy roster. He had 55.6 fantasy points. That's the most by a player in the team's 16th game ever. And so if you had him on your roster, he single-handedly probably won you the game. And that's impressive in its own right. Okay, now we got to do a little sharp transition to something that happened yesterday that unfortunately feels like it shadowed the entire weekend in terms of what we saw, win, losses, and the performances on the field. It was, I'll call it the antics of Antonio Brown. In case you missed it, the Bucs faced the Jets on Sunday, and it was a close game. And in the third quarter Antonio Brown decided, while the remainder of the game was going on and while his teammates were still on the field playing, to leave the game, take off his jersey, his shoulder pads, his shirt, throw it around, do some jumping jacks in the end zone, there you go, and basically say peace out and walk out, took an Uber to the airport, and then after the game we heard from Bruce Arians and he all told us that he is no longer a Buck. And so there's a lot of different ways we could go with this, and Fitz, I'll let you go first here in terms of what this kind of struck you with when you saw it, because it was jarring, I think, for a lot of us to see.
Well, obviously, I want to be very sensitive to the mental health issues that Antonio Brown may be facing. I've always been honest about that part of my family. My mom is manic. My brother has sociopathic tendencies. tendencies. I've gone through all of this. Bipolar disorder runs in my family. So I am very respectful of the mental aspect of it. I still can have that conversation while holding the teams accountable. And at some point, if you're an NFL team, Bruce Arians said a couple of weeks ago he didn't give a about what anybody thinks. He's just making his football team better by having Antonio Brown be a part of it. I would argue that not only did he not make his football team better, he didn't help Antonio Brown in this. So I think Bruce Arians and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers deserve to be sort of rammed for this, for the way that they've approached it. And the NFL needs to look seriously, the NFLPA needs to look seriously at trying to find ways to help guys that obviously need help. The teams need to stop taking chances on people like Antonio Brown over and over again for reasons other than just his mental health. But realistically, the Players Association needs to help him also.
And look, if you look at this timeline right here, Scoobs, I mean, this has been pointed out, but this doesn't even tell the whole story. There were many other twists and turns to how we got here with Antonio Brown. And I think you make a great point. Obviously, we all want to take a step back and look at the mental health aspect of it. But at some point, maybe accountability also has to come into play here.
Yeah, and it definitely has to, because we've kind of seen this before from Antonio Brown when he was with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin kicked him off the practice field. Antonio Brown basically quit the team right before a playoff game. And then that kind of started up some things with him with the Steelers. And when we started to see the snowball effect of Antonio Brown, and I don't think there is an excuse, because he walked away from his team on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said about when you're with your brothers on the battlefield and you're together trying to accomplish one common goal. One thing you don't do is turn your back on them. And he turned his back on them in the middle of a game. Mm-hmm. And I relate this to one of my teammates I used to play with in college. He also had bipolar, and he used to act up in practice in such a way. But when we sat down and talked to him, we know that he loved his teammates and he loved us. But he would never turn his back on us and walk out in the middle of a game. But I think this is something that we might have saw a mental breakdown. We may have saw something with Antonio Brown. I think we have to keep that into consideration as well. But he has to want to get help himself, because you can't get help unless you want to help yourself.
Well, and there has to be accountability. Whatever distraction this causes for the Buccaneers, which isn't as important as a human being's mental health, but whatever distraction that causes is squarely the fault of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because if all the rest of us could see this coming, why couldn't they?
Well, yeah, of course, right? And you'd like to think, considering the help that the NFL has, specific teams have, the NFLPA has, veteran players have, that would be readily available for him. And again, if everyone knows it, I am sure Bruce Arians, Tom Brady, everyone else is probably giving him a gentle nudge. Now it's up to him to take accountability and go out and actually get that help. One thing I want to add to what Skubie said, and then we will definitely move on, is the fact that Antonio Brown's work ethic was never in question. Like, never. Through all of these different pit stops, I think we could all agree that we knew Antonio Brown was a hard worker on and off the football field. So I think when this happened yesterday, everyone took a step back and said, okay, we never questioned your work ethic and how much you wanted to be part of a football team until now, unfortunately. And that is where I think the future of what happens to him going forward comes into question. Okay, we're going to leave that right there. What ended up happening was the Buccaneers drove down the field in the final seconds, and they ended up winning the game and beating the Jets. And so what do we see? More of Tom Brady, more of the same, right? New year, same old me is the segment that we're going to play here, because our friend LaMelo Ball actually gave us this glorious idea.
New year, new me. Same me, though.
That's right. New year, same me. And so we can go through this kind of in order here. Let's start with Bill Belichick destroying rookie quarterbacks, because this is just the same old situation for them Patriots. Isn't it, Skubie? Bill Belichick taking a look at Trevor Lawrence and just saying, chop it up. You're going to be sent home embarrassed.
This is something that we have seen him do over and over and over again. Bill Belichick, his team loses one game, and they come back the next game retooled, recharged, and ready to destroy. And that is what they did against Trevor Lawrence. He threw 3 interceptions. Now he ties Blake Bortles for the most by Jaguars QB in franchise history. He has 17 on the year, and Bill Belichick is 25-8 versus rookie, including 4-0 this year. So he doesn't just crush rookies, but he also crushes their confidence completely, because now Trevor Lawrence is definitely rethinking how he's going to be playing football going forward.
I mean, the Patriots clinched a playoff berth with that win over the Jags, and I feel like Bill Belichick just stuck to everyone with that and kept it moving. All right, I just mentioned the Patriots and Tom Brady and getting a win over the Jets. Tom Brady and the Bucs getting a win over the Jets. That's a little Freudian slip there. But nonetheless, how many times have we seen this? Same old Tom Brady.
Yeah, same old Tom Brady, but I'm not going to sit here and do cartwheels naked in the streets for needing a comeback win over the Jets. Like, the Jets have had some moments this year where they've taken it to some teams. I'll give them some credit. They're still playing tough, but Tom Brady threw that winning touchdown with 15 seconds left to play. It felt inevitable. We all knew that when Brady got the ball with 2 minutes to go. But it's also a little bit like Jordan Cornette bragging about dunking over me. Okay, congratulations. You dunked on the Jets. It shouldn't have been that hard to begin with.
It shouldn't have. And
Still got to do it, though.
That quarterback sneak, though, what was it, 4th and 2, also probably helped a little bit the Buccaneers get that W. All right, more of the same with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, absolutely dominating last night against the Vikings. New year, same old Aaron Rodgers, Scooby.
And that's why he has gone to be the complete MVP favorite. This man is something else. It's almost as if when he had that toe injury, he's complaining about how much it hurts. Oh, my toe hurts. And he shows us his toe, how it's not the COVID toe. But then he just turns up and plays better than he was before the toe injury. So I think it's even more interesting how he's about to become the 5th back-to-back MVP ever.
I also think New Year, same me to the Vikings, by the way. I mean, getting crushed by the Packers.
And always inconsistent, the Vikings are, it feels like, especially the last couple of years. Okay, New Year, same old me. We already talked about Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, what the Cincinnati Bengals are doing, but it just feels like more of the same, cool swag coming off of Joe Burrow.
Smoking
but
Joe, baby.
New Year, same old me. We saw it at LSU. Now we're seeing in Cincinnati.
Keep the code switch. Oh, man, I love this. Hey, this is they always say get you someone who can do both, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to say about celebratory smoking because I got nothing to say. I like working for Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, fair. I mean, we could do this, guys. Like, we smile on set here. Maybe we're doing fun activities one day elsewhere. I don't know.
I mean, maybe we're doing fun. Let's see if the Raiders win on Sunday. Then
you two have some dog in the fight here in the postseason. Me and my Bears, not so much. Speaking of the postseason, we are approaching. We only have.
Look at that. That's a transition.
Here we are. We only have one more week left in the regular season. And so right now, this is what the playoff picture looks like in the AFC. There are 5 teams at this point competing for the final 2 spots in the playoffs. You can see by the colored coordination there who has clinched what. And so that is what the AFC playoff picture looks like. So it's all going to come down to this weekend. It's a little clearer than it was prior to this Sunday. And then in the NFC, there's only 1 spot available, but 2 teams fighting for it. And that would be the 49ers and the Saints, who, by the way, guys, are playing at the exact same time this weekend. So make sure you either have 2 TVs or your clicker readily available. And speaking of the playoff picture, let's make it even more clearer now as I send it over to you guys. Scooby and Fitz, what you got?
All right, Shae, so that shows us what the playoffs look like in the scenarios we have now. But now, Scooby, we get to play with the NFL playoff machine. You ready for this fun?
Yeah, it's about to get spooky.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to actually predict some matchups, and from predicting the matchups, the playoff machine will go and tell us who's going to play who. You ready for this one?
Yeah,
we have to do tonight first. So Cleveland, Pittsburgh, what do you think on this? Who we got?
I'm going to take the Steelers in this one. They have something to play for. And when you have something to play for, maybe you play with a little more purpose. And I think because of that purpose, that the Steelers can pull this out. It's Big Ben's last year. This is his last hoorah. How can you lose in a game like this, especially against a division rival? I got to go with Pittsburgh.
Well, we'll give our picks later, and I'm actually taking Cleveland tonight. But for the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to take Pittsburgh with you because I think it makes the machine work harder. So now we get to move to Week 18. So this is the way it works. We predict the outcome of the games, and by predicting the outcome of the games, it tells us who would be in the playoffs. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, let's start with the Chargers and the Raiders. I mean, go ahead, Scooby. What do you have to say?
Well, we got a serious Raiders fan over here. So let's not forget, you guys actually have a chance. Let's say the Colts lose. What has happened? You automatically get in.
There's ways we can get in. Yes, there's no doubt.
There's ways you can get in. But I do like the Raiders beating the Chargers in this game just because they've been playing really well lately. I don't know if say lately, but they played really well in that game. And I like the connection that Carr has with Hunter Renfrow, so I think they can pull it out.
I think the Chargers are going to win this game because I'm not used to nice things. But for the point of this exercise, we'll take Vegas in. Now, New England taking on Miami. New England wins that game, right? Like, Miami's not good enough. And you're a Patriots fan, so we'll go with that. Kansas City taking on a depleted Denver team. We can win. Kansas City wins this. We in agreement so far?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we got the Bengals at Cleveland in a game that means nothing for Cleveland and very little for the Bengals. I feel good about the Bengals, though, the way they're playing right now. I think they win this game.
Yeah, I
You
got to
good
go
with
with the Bengals in this game. Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Baltimore. This one's interesting. Baltimore continues to play hard no matter who their quarterback is. Pittsburgh at that point, by the way we're playing this, will have very little to play for. Who you got in this one?
Now, it depends on who does Baltimore have at quarterback. Does Lamar Jackson come back for them and be with this team on offense? Because if Lamar Jackson is behind the center, then this team is completely different. Now, don't get me wrong. Tyler Huntley, he's done his thing, and he's proved to be a solid quarterback within the NFL. Probably made himself a lot of money in the future, but I got to go Baltimore in this if Lamar Jackson is there.
Let's take Baltimore in this one because I think we can both agree, and I would take Baltimore. Either quarterback, I'm taking Baltimore. How do you like that? The Titans taking on Houston. Houston's not good. The Titans win this game, right? Like, we good with that?
Gotta give it to the Titans. They got that momentum right now, and they definitely want to keep that 1 seed if they end up getting this win, because then they get to lock that in, and you get that extra week to let Derrick Henry come back, and they open up the practice window for him to be able to come back today. So let's see if we can get that done.
The Bills beat a plucky Jets team. We agree with that? I just want to say plucky Jets team. And Indianapolis taking on Jacksonville. I mean, I think we all know the Colts are going to win this. Even though, as Skubie mentioned, I am rooting for Jacksonville, because if Jacksonville wins this game, the Raiders are in either way. But Indianapolis wins it, right? We agree with?
Yeah,
so
of course.
That gives us our playoff matchup in the AFC. The Titans, we get home field advantage. And then all of a sudden we get the Colts at the Chiefs. A heck of a matchup, by the way. The Raiders at the Bengals, which means Jordan Cornette and I are going to Cincinnati, and is getting weird. Weird. And Patriots-Bills.
We need to get footage of both of you at that game. But I think you, Fitz, as a Raiders fan, you got to be confident a little bit when it comes down to the protection that Joe Burrow has. He's been sacked 51 times in the NFL. That's more than any other quarterback. Joe Burrow was getting blasted so bad yesterday that the name on the back of his jersey got ripped off. And he left that game with a knee injury that says feels good to him. So I think you're confident in that.
I'm not confident on anything, Scooby. Just making the playoffs is reason for me to party. Let's look at the NFC.
I'll try to give him hope.
San Francisco with the Rams. Big matchup. Who you got in this one?
Rams.
All right, we'll go Rams with that. I think Dallas beats the Eagles, although the Eagles have played better of late. We good with Dallas?
Oh, yeah. Jalen Hurts has proved to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. Got to go with them.
Well, it makes a big difference because, as you can see, if Dallas wins, the Eagles drop. If the Eagles win, they have a difference. So the playoff matchup changes on that. Seattle at Arizona. Arizona free-falling. Seattle coming off a big win. I still think Arizona gets a win. What do you think?
I'm going to be a fun spoiler. I'm going to say Seattle.
Okay.
You saw how they played this week. It seems like Russell Wilson's finger is starting to feel a little bit good. DK Metcalf has caught his own. And then Rashad Penny. He's been one of the most interesting stories of the entire season with how he's completely turned around his career after having an injury-ridden career.
Yeah, after I dropped him off my fantasy team. Either way, it doesn't make a difference for them. Tampa Bay over Carolina. We good with that one, obviously.
Let's do it.
And then Green Bay over Detroit. I think that's pretty easy. Most of these games here, I'm not sure. New Orleans, Atlanta. Who you got in that one?
We got to go with New Orleans in that one.
All right, so we'll take New Orleans, which does put the Saints into the playoffs. Notice that. If Atlanta wins, no Saints. Saints win, they're in. And then Chicago, Minnesota, I'll take the Vikings there. Washington football team and the Giants, nobody cares. Let's go Washington football team. So that gives us the Packers with the first-round bye. Everything's going through Lambeau.
Tom Brady's kryptonite right there.
Oh, you're right. We end up with a little bit of interesting thing there. And then, obviously, the Saints are in, by the way, if the Niners lose. That makes a big difference.
And then
there.
the Niners don't have Jimmy Garoppolo this week. You also got to remember that. They have Trey Lance playing the quarterback. How is he going to do with a full week of preparation, not just for him on offense, but the other team on defense, knowing that they're going to be seeing Trey Lance?
Yeah, so this gets interesting, and that's part of the magic of it. You can check out the playoff machine on ESPN.com. It's fun to tinker around with. You'll waste hours. Somebody that never wastes hours, the great Phil Murphy. He is in Pittsburgh. Phil, what you got for us?
Fitz, it's something of a Monday Night Football rarity. Browns Steelers for the first time in a Monday Night Football game since 1995. Bill Belichick was the head coach of the Browns back then. But the last time these teams met on this field, it seemed like it was a coming-of-age game for the Browns. Wildcard playoffs last year, explosive outing, nearly 50 points for Cleveland. And then you get the disappointment of this season where the Browns are already eliminated from the playoffs. They're relegated to the role of spoiler in this game, not just handing the Steelers a loss, which would mathematically eliminate them from the playoffs, but spoiling Big Ben's final home game here at Heinz Field. Steelers have been great at home, Shae. 5-0-1 in their last 6, but they've really struggled in the first quarter. minus 88 scoring differential in the last 5 games overall. They got to get off to a hotter start here on Monday Night Football.
All right, it's time for Tailgate Tips now, ignited by Smirnoff. You know, Phil Murphy always having a good time, even when he is by himself. Now we're going to try and bring the good time into this room and think about being warm and cozy at a tailgate, which might be hard if you're in places like Lambeau or in Foxborough or Buffalo, Cincinnati, Arrowhead. Do I need to keep going?
You're basically listing every place the Raiders might go for the playoffs.
Yes,
so this is selfishly just, God willing, the Raiders make the playoffs. This is really for me.
So you're just early preparation. And so how do we stay warm at a tailgate, guys?
Don't do what Fitz be doing and do all this layering up stuff where you put on layers with two shirts, a tank top, and a jacket and a sweater. No. Get yourself a diesel jacket. I'm talking those big jackets with feathers that zips up all the way to here and the pockets are on the side. That's how you get ready for a tailgate. Don't do what Fitz does.
The problem is, let's be very clear. Let's say that I make the road trip up to Buffalo or New England or fly to Cincinnati to go see my beloved Raiders in the playoffs, right? If I sit next to somebody that's wearing this honking suit that takes off, those seats are already tight. I don't want your suit and your feathers in my seat, all right?
I feel like rule number 1 for staying warm is layering. That's literally rule 1, layers and hand warmers.
You ain't got to layer that much if you got a big-ass jacket.
No. See, this is where you channel your inner rock star because leather jackets are really warm, all right? So you wear a good lined leather jacket, like a hoodie underneath it now. But the real question is the hand warmer thing because, I got these little USB-powered, hand warmers that you can stick in your pockets that keep everything warm, right? But Harry Douglas has, the warming gloves.
Heated gloves.
I don't know. No, I looked them up on Amazon, and they're NFL money. That's all I'm saying. That's a lot for gloves.
The ones you shake and you, throw them in your boots and you throw them in your pocket and you call it a day. I don't do the fancy, LED
Oh, so I had to get
powered.
the fancy ones when I was out traveling with Game Day because I was getting up to do morning radio before Game Day outside. So I would get to the site at 3 in the morning, and then you're sitting there and you're like, look, the sun's not going to be up for 4 hours, and I'm going to stand outside and do radio for 4 hours. The little packs don't keep up. You need something at that point that's got some oomph
Hands
to it.
and
Here's
feet.
what I know.
Keep them warm.
Yeah, keep them warm. Here's what I know from covering a few games in the very bitter cold in NFC Northland, Minnesota, although that's indoors, and Lambeau and things like that. Just don't try and look cute. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just not going to happen. Throw your hat, your hand gloves,
Mr. Leather
whatever.
Jacket here.
Yeah, just looking cute.
I always look good. I'm just going to remind everybody, though, you get really cold with your hands. Let's just be honest with America. Your butt cracks. They're really the warm place to go. It's just fingers right.
That's the time where we need to transition.
What?
Someone who's going to be keeping warm tonight because he's in the Monday Night Football booth is Louis Riddick, and this is a good time to go to him and see what he has to say about tonight's matchup. Louis, what's up?
Well, Shae, I think tonight in what has likely been Roethlisberger's last performance here at Heinz Field, you're going to see an atmosphere and experience an atmosphere like you've never experienced before at Heinz Field, and that's saying something. But I think right now people want to pay their respects to a guy who delivered just nothing but virtuoso performance after performance during his entire Hall of Fame career. He's going up against the hated Cleveland Browns, one of the fiercest rivalries in the entire National Football League. The Pittsburgh Steelers since 1990 are 28-3 at home against the Cleveland Browns, so they know how to win, despite the fact that maybe this year the Steelers team isn't as talented as the Browns team. But that's not going to really matter in a game like tonight, where it's going to be all about Ben Roethlisberger. I expect the ball to be in the air a lot, and I expect this game to go down to the fourth quarter, where hopefully Ben can deliver some magic once again as he goes ahead and plays his final game. Back to you.
Thank you, Louis. Okay, so now we're getting set for this game. We're just moments away from Browns and Steelers. And, guys, this could be the second year in a row where the Browns could eliminate, essentially, the Steelers from the postseason. And so when you look at the Browns, they're not playing for anything in the postseason. That's really their only motivation tonight.
Well, and you said it earlier. I'll echo it. I think it might be the most disappointing team in the NFL this year. There were expectations coming in for this Browns team. So, yeah, they can keep the Steelers out, and there's some pride in that whenever you've got a rivalry involved. But let's not couch this as anything less than an incredible disappointment. And things are not easy for Cleveland, who are now going to have to make tough decisions on Baker Mayfield, what to do moving forward. Has he been enough of a quarterback to deserve a ton of money for a guy that's been really banged up all year? I feel bad for the guy trying to figure out what his worth is in a year when he's been so beat up, Scooby. But those are the real economics decisions that are going to have to be made in Cleveland.
Yeah, remember remember when they said that OBJ is the problem over there? Now OBJ's gone, and they're not even in the playoffs, and OBJ has a chance to hit the playoffs. But where do you go with Baker Mayfield at this point? And Andrew Berry said they're going to take a big picture approach with Baker Mayfield, and the previous years what Baker's done is picked it up towards that second half of the season, and therefore they kind of look at it like, maybe he's going to pick it up next year, they'll look better, and this is why it's such a disappointment, because we thought they were going to be good. They have the defense. Myles Garrett is not only one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, one of the best pass rushers in NFL history. So you got the defense that can win you games, you got a running back who's a top 5 running back in the NFL, and your quarterback can't win you games. So where do you go forward after this as the Browns?
And really tough for Browns fans that I think rightfully so would say, look at the injuries, look at the games lost this year. Tough when you're in the same division as Baltimore, who has put themselves in a good situation with even more injuries.
So they don't want to hear the injury excuse, because what Cleveland fans are going to say is he's been hurt, they've done this. No. Figure it out.
Yeah, you got to figure it out. And we're going to figure out our game picks right now because, again, we're creeping closer to that postseason. So let's get to our picks here. It is Steelers and it is Browns and it is Monday Night Football. Fitzy, who you taking?
Yeah, I'm taking Cleveland in this game. As tough as I just was on the Browns, the Steelers' offense has just been bad this year. And I know we love Big Ben, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't think there's any firepower left in the cannon. So if he's throwing the ball more, that's not a recipe that wins.
All right, the offense has been bad, but that defense has been solid. And T.J. Watt is on that side with a Baker Mayfield who's playing with one shoulder and one leg. So I'm going Steelers.
Okay, I'm going to go with you. I'm also going to go Steelers. I remember it was just about a month ago when we saw Big Ben really step it up against the Minnesota Vikings. He showed like a shell of himself that we had seen a few years prior, rather. So I think tonight Big Ben does it for the home crowd team, and the Steelers get a W. Remember, they have to win to stay alive in the postseason. They have to win their next 2 games. So tonight is very important against a divisional rival in the Browns. His name is Jason Fitz. His name is Skubie Mageza. I am Shae Cornette. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Monday Tailgate, ignited by Smirnoff. Everyone enjoy Monday Night Football. It is Browns, and it is Steelers, and it is coming to you from Pittsburgh. We'll see you next time.